Mac,
Am
you're
I
unmuted.
am I unmuted now? So what
You're
are we talking?
unmuted
Like, why are we talking
now.
about difficulty? Because again, I still don't agree with that. Because getting stuff and doing the things in Animal
Well,
Crossing is not
the
difficult. I
reason
think difficult's
because
the
Kirby
wrong
had
word.
kindly
Subjective.
brought up like a different point, and I wanted it to like get to a
But it
different
doesn't
point.
relate to Death Stranding at all. Like
It's
we're
subjective
not
for you
even
to say
on
it's
Death
difficult
Stranding
for you.
anymore.
Okay. I brought that up. I brought that up because we're talking about what is original about Death Stranding. I think what is original about Death Stranding is that the way in which, because there have been other games where all you do is walk. I agree, or other games where all you do is move.
And it's
But
how
the way in,
detailed and
but
how
the way,
realistic it
but
is, and you
the
got a
no no no
backpack
no no no
on,
no.
and it's
Shut
super
up! Shut up!
realistic.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up. The way in which Death Stranding is difficult is this is the intention of the game. It
It's
is
the
meant
intention
to
of other
reflect.
games.
It is meant to reflect actual walking and backpacking and hiking in reality. No
Cool.
other
Okay.
game has done
Cool.
that
Okay. Cool.
and made it
The
the
concept
entirety
the
of it.
concept is not original
How?
because that concept exists in other games.
Which
And
games?
then the traversing is hard genre where that
No, they're
Death
not fucking
Stranding it
realistic.
lives on
Idiot. That's
Steam.
the whole point. That's the whole
But
point. Those are not modeled
like,
on realism. Those are not modeled on realism.
but like,
Those are stylized games where it's fun and you're like, ooh, I'm going to do this, but it's not modeled on actual backpacking and the conditions that you face when you're backpacking. That's why I brought up that a game is what makes it hard, because the way that Death Stranding is hard is
okay,
supposed to be modeled on how actual backpacking is hard.
but
That's what's
is it
original about it.
original? Okay,
Okay, then name
but
another
is
one.
the
Fucking
game
idiot.
original? No. The
Yes.
con that con okay, well
Yes.
then see again
Yes.
we're back at the start. We're back
Yes.
at the start. I don't even
You're
know why
not fucking
difficulty was brought
listening. You're
up.
just asserting things, you stupid
No,
fuck.
you're not listening either because we're not talking about the
No,
same
I'm trying
thing.
to generate new
That
concepts.
is not my definition of
Told
original.
you.
That is
You're
not
just
my
like, no,
definition
that's
of
not my
original in video.
definition. No,
You don't play games, so that is your definition of original in video games. To
Okay,
me, sorry, that's not
You don't
original.
play enough video games. You can't possibly pass judgment. Yes, I fucking can, idiot. You don't
You
have to
like
fucking go
you
to
don't,
video
but we're
games to
not
do it.
talking
okay,
about the
guys.
same thing. We're not talking about the same thing at
Okay,
all.
I'm about
Again,
to.
how like how,
I just muted both of you. I'm sorry, Kirby. I mean, sorry. I'm sorry, Mac. I know you're about to talk, but I'm about to unmute you, Mac. But just for as of right now, I guess we're just gonna have to start over a little bit, Mac. Just go over like what your definition of original is. I think we're stuck on a definition thing right now. You're unmuted right now.
okay, so all right, so look, so Kirby,
No,
like
no,
again, I guess this
your
is like
definition of original. Just say that.
okay, well look, like this is playing games. I have seen those concepts and that gameplay element in a lot of games. So to me, it makes it not original. When it came out, it didn't seem original. When I played it, it wasn't original because I have done that. I have been that, and I have watched videos before that game, like Death Stranding came out. I played those game videos on like games like that, especially like the walking one on a mini clip that everyone played, and then all leading up to all this, to me, does not make it original. Kirby, and his definition of original is he's saying that because it's presented in a different way, and it's like more realistic, and that there's no other game that has like simulated weight carrying and whatnot. That there's PvP games with simulated weight carryings that you have to work as a team together and like again like get over the things and shift the like it's not the concept is not original. So to me, the game is not original because I have seen it. And maybe it's not the exact way Death Stranding is, and it's not the exact same gameplay, but it is derived from those games, which makes it unoriginal. As not saying that the game doesn't bring its own version of it, but it's a version. It's a version of those, those things, which makes it unoriginal. So, and I get where Kirby's coming from. And that's why it's frustrating because Kirby ultimately or seemingly does not get where I'm coming from. So he's having like this mental block to where he's like, "You keep just saying that." I'm saying what makes sense to me, and I get what makes sense to you. But now the argument isn't even about if it's good or not. The argument is about like, do you understand like that conceptually it's not an original game, even though yes, it has its own thing that makes its own like a different styled walking simulator game. That does not mean those concepts didn't exist in the past. It does not mean that they. It's not, again, it's not like Hideo Kojima played those games, but he didn't. He did not come up with the concept of making walking in terrain difficult.
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're understanding. I mean, get what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna put you on mute now, and then Kirby, you're unmuted. You go.
Mac, it's so hard to listen to because you just waffle around from minor detail to minor detail and you avoid the point. The point is that there is, in reality, a thing people do, backpacking, where they put on a backpack and they go over some natural terrain. I think that Death Stranding is original because it is the first game, to my knowledge, that has modeled itself on realistically reproducing the difficulties and the aesthetics of that faithfully to reality. Like, I understand there are other games where you get over a hill, but most of the time, in fact, all of the time, they are stylized in some way to make them simple, right? Because it's kind of ridiculous, right, to make a really complex AAA game that is all about walking. That's why all of these games that are completely focused on, like getting over it or something, they're like they're little like party games, because it's really fucking weird. And this is the reason why the game flopped, to create a AAA game that is completely focused on this small aspect of just walking. But I think what's original is that he really committed to that, and that by like faithfully reproducing the struggles that you face when you're actually trying to get something heavy over a large thing. Like, for instance, when I was in Boy Scouts, you actually do have to pay attention to where you put the weight in your backpack. Like, you have to put it at the bottom because you don't want to be top heavy. And that's the same thing in the game. There's a lot of details I could go through, but I'm not going to go through all of them because that would be obnoxious. But you see what I'm saying about how he committed, like, in a AAA setting to faithfully reproducing the backpacking in reality. I really don't think there was anything like that.
Okay. I'm going to put you on mute. So, I'm going to talk about both of your sides right now. Because now after this, with the way I'm saying it, you guys are almost talking to each other. Because, like, realistically, what I'm about to explain, you guys are talking past each other. Because as Kirby just said, Kojima has focused on this aspect and made it into a triple gaming way. And it has made it unique, and no other industry or game developer has done it this way. Well, Mac is saying that even though Kojima may have done this, the concepts that he is adding into the game doesn't make it as unique or original as Kirby would like it to be or other people would. That's what I'm hearing from both of you guys, and it seems like you guys are like super close to almost talking to each other, but realistically what I'm hearing is that you guys are just talking past each other. So I just unmuted Mac, I unmuted Kirby. You guys are both unmuted right now.
Well, I would like to say again, like, he's like, just from the response to what I said, it just flew past his head. That you still don't get what I'm talking. You still don't get what I'm talking about. That you still don't get my side of view or my point of view at all.
What flew past my head?
What is my point of view? Like, Kobe understands it. What is my point of view?
Let me try to explain your point of view as I see it. Let me try to explain.
Okay,
I'm gonna be very charitable.
What you guys? Okay, Kirby's gonna go first, but you guys are gonna try to steel man each other's argument. Okay.
All right. I'll do that.
No, Kirby's just acting dumb. It's like the first time ever.
Let's just do this.
Mac does not want me to do it.
So we can both see if we understand.
Kirby, I do, because like you're literally like you say I'm.
Okay, then let me do it. Then let me do it.
Mac, you just got muted. Let Kirby go first.
All right.
Steel man his argument.
I would say Mac's argument is based on the concept. The concept of walking and of making walking difficult is not unique to Death Stranding. I would agree with that. But what I think is unique about Death Stranding is, first of all, this separates it from one category of games. There's two things. One separates it from one category of game and one from the other. The first thing is that it raises walking to the entirety, the central focus of the game. That separates it from things like Skyrim or things like other games. The second thing is that it faithfully reproduces actual backpacking in reality. I understand that the concept is common to all these games, but I don't see what Mac's argument is beyond that. I think Mac is saying that I'm arguing that even though the concept is common, because Death Stranding has all this extra detail and realism, that's what makes it unique. And he's saying that there's nothing essential about details or realism. It's just a sliding scale of like how detailed or how realistic it is. But I think that it's actually a different concept, because you can have the stylized concept of movement and walking, but there's also a concept that is derived from how walking over terrain with a bunch of weight actually goes in practice. And so that would be my argument.
Okay. I'm going to put you on mute now. All right, Mac, before I unmute you, steel man his arguments. I'm pretty sure you know what that means. I don't have to explain, but do that first, and then you can talk about your side, what like Kirby did. So I'll be fair to you. So just try. So you're unmuted. So just try to steel man his argument first, and then go on your spill.
But see, like, that's like where this doesn't make sense, because I get Kirby's point of view. I get how it could be original to him, but it's not to me. And that's the point of it all.
Just first, just steal me in his argument first. Just do that first, and then go.
Again, like what I'm tired of saying the same. Okay, like I don't know what else to say anymore. It's the same shit. Like I'm kind of just done because it doesn't make sense. It's a nonsensical argument because I get it, but I'm not gonna say that it's not original. It's not original to me, but it's original to Kirby. But it's not though, and it's not original to half of the gaming stratosphere. But to Kirby, yes, and Kirby can have this whole. But ultimately, outside of Kirby's tiny little bubble, it's a pretty unoriginal game, and it's not. Yes, as detailed as it is.
So, like, do you know what Kirby's argument is? Can you at least?
Yes, his okay. So Kirby's argument is that because it focuses purely on walking, and that because it's made it so ultra realistic, such as like getting over a cliff and all that, it makes it to him it creates its own game. Like that's what I get that. To him it makes its own. There's no other game like Death Stranding where you have to walk and it's backpacking and you have to like manage stuff in your inventory. Which I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's a lot of games. But it's the same thing in a lot of situations, in a lot of game situations. There's nothing really here that is on its own original. It is a together it could seem original to Kirby, but every concept is from other games. And even like it's just common, like to me that's just common knowledge. That's the main thing of the game, is that it is just walking and it's a joke, and Kirby's like it's this big triumph because he made a AAA game about walking and it's so commendable. And no, it's pretentious and it flopped, not because it was a walking simulator, but because people were like, I don't know, it just seems like even the reviews are like he's just doing too much, and it's just kind of like hard to follow, and it's just like the gameplay doesn't serve for the story and the story doesn't serve for the gameplay very well. And that's just it's just an unoriginal piece for me, even though Kirby can think that, and I do see what he's saying, and I can't like agree that it's, but I see what all those things, that there's no other game to him that has that type of traversing and gameplay loop. But for me, you can look at that game and see, I can think of and see other games that are in my mind similar conceptually, and I think he should be cool with that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get what he's saying, but he just whatever my point of view, he just wants to like bash it out of my brain and be like, it's wrong. I'm not trying to say that to him. I'm just saying it's just, to me, it's not original, and we're in this like fighting loop to the death forever that makes no sense because I have a different view of what this should be, because in a gaming landscape. Yes, let's just.
All right.
It's never ending because we're not talking about the same thing.
You're unmuted.
All right, let me close the loop. Mac is trying to lapse this argument into a sort of subjective nihilism, where it's just for me, it's for me.
And there he goes again, just talking about he's like Kirby is the king of bullshit, dude. Can you say one sentence?
You see how
okay,
he
then
fucking
say
gets
it.
off topic and just starts insulting me because he doesn't have a fucking thing to say.
Every time you start talking, Kirby, you just opened up. Every single time you open up, you say my shit is dumb and whatever, because you don't get that you're stupid. You don't get what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like talking like you're a toddler. Like you're a toddler. Then act like you know. Then act like it.
Your argument, and you failed to do so. You failed to do so.
How did I fail to do so?
Look, Mac. There are 2 points. That walking is the whole point of the game, one, and that it is ultra realistic based on how walking and backpacking is in real life. Point 2. Name one fucking game that has both of those points.
That's again, you're so fucking stupid because that's not the point. You keep going back to that. Conceptually, it is not original. Yes, it can be its own thing, but where it comes from, like, you're so dumb. Walking is hard, and that's like, how many times do we have to talk about this? How many fucking times do I have to repeat myself? Because you don't get the like again, it's like talking to a toddler.
He really doesn't know what to do. He's
Kobe, do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're hearing this? Are you hearing it, Kobe? Like, I mean,
I do hear it. Yes.
Thank you, because Kobe's a fucking idiot, because he can't compute what I'm saying.
Hold on.
Name one game that has both.
He's back to it. He's back to the irrelevant.
Okay, you guys are both muted now. Hold up. Now, I don't agree with Mac that Kirby is an idiot, but I do see what Mac is talking about, how Kirby, you are kind of looping on the, every time you have like a rebuttal when it's your turn to talk back to Kirby, to Mac's argument, you are like saying like, okay, this is why, or you have some way of thinking, your like ideas are not like really up to date, or they're just like bad, and this is why, Death Stranding is actually unique. I think you need to start off your arguments a little bit different, so it doesn't come off as if you like just simply bashing on Mac. All right, I'm gonna unmute you both. You're both
I have
unmuted.
brought up angle after angle after angle, and Kirby's. It's just there's no other game.
And they
Name one
just
game.
bounce
Name
off
one
me.
game. Because you don't answer them. You just go
Because I
back to
don't
name one game.
understand.
Name one
Oh my
game,
God.
which is not
Mac,
what
you're
we're
at such a
talking
high level
about.
of thought right now. I couldn't possibly comprehend. Mac,
Like
just
that's
name
why
one
it
game
seems stupid to me
that
because I'm
makes
surprised you don't
realistic
get it.
walking
And he's
the
back to
entirety
it.
of
He
the
doesn't
game.
like. Are we what we are? Is what I'm saying to you not like crossing your mind how that doesn't
Respond to my
matter?
question. Respond to
I
my question.
have.
What's one game
I've
that makes
responded to
realistic
it the
walking the
past 4
entirety?
times you've asked it in the past 2
Then
minutes you
name the
said it.
game. Name the game.
Then
Name the
answer
game.
my shit first
Name
because
the
your shit
game.
doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean? I'm asking you a
I'll
question.
name the
How
mini
does a
clip games. I'm
question
gonna
not
name
make sense?
Journey. I'm gonna name Journey.
But it's not
I'm
realistic.
gonna name Shadow
But it's not
Colossus.
realistic.
But the
But it's not
conceptually, Kirby,
realistic.
because you don't understand what I'm saying. Conceptually, it is the same game,
But
and I'm
how
sorry you don't
okay, how
get
about
it.
this?
I'm
Mac,
sorry.
what is the
Games are
concept?
where your dog
Kirby, I put you on mute.
pass for you.
And then wait, I'm sorry, Kurt. Sorry, Mac. I just put you on mute. Mac, here, this is what we're gonna do, Mac. I'm gonna unmute you in a second, but this is what I want you to do, Mac. I want you to name a game that does the same thing that does the same thing as Death Stranding, but then I want you to go in like a deep understanding or explain it why on a conceptual level. Just make sure you just go in detail for me, so we can try to like get past this. Just name a game and then go in detail.
Okay, I'm gonna start off with Shadow of the Colossus for one, because again, Kirby's saying that making the walking ultra realistic again, like makes it its own thing. Like I'm tired of this point. And Kirby's gonna say, name another game. I'm gonna say Shadow of the Colossus because to Kirby that doesn't compute. Kirby doesn't understand how they're similar. Kirby cannot compute how Shadow of the Colossus and Death Stranding are anyway the same because the way you travel is different, which to Kirby means it's a whole new game. Even though Shadow of the Colossus, which has less gameplay than Death Stranding, which is because there is no fighting besides climbing. You climb terribly with clunky ass controls where you use R2 for one arm, L2 for another arm. If he shakes, you got to hold on, you got a stamina bar, you got to do all this and save at points to rest up, and it makes climbing difficult. It makes walking as hard on the clunky controls of trying to control the horse that has a mind of its own to be ultra realistic. Like the horse has its own mind where it'll just veer off left or right sometimes. But to Kirby, that doesn't make sense somehow. But Shadow of the Colossus is a game like Death Stranding, where movement is the issue, and where movement and realistic climbing, if you want to like bring realism into it to say that that's like what makes it a completely new concept and original, Shadow of the Colossus is probably another thing. Ico, the sequel to Shadow of the Colossus, same thing, same walking, climbing problems, and that's the entire game. You don't even fight. There is no fighting in those games, but you're going to say that Death Stranding is more revolutionary for what it did as making walking the gameplay, but you're going to say that Shadow of the Colossus didn't do it first. Sorry, that's not original to me, and to you I can see how it is, but I see Shadow of the Colossus, I see Ico, I see even Abzu, I see like Shadow of the Colossus is not Shadow, Death Stranding. But again, that cannot compute. It does not compute to Kirby, and he's going to say the same thing. But he's not going to be like, that's not the same, though, because it's not ultra-realistic, and the packages... To me, it's the same. To me, the concept is there, and he just grew off that concept. But that concept is not his. That is not Hideo's idea. Like, as much as you want to dick ride to his cock is coming out your nose, it's not the same game. Or it's just, you can't say that it's an original thing, and that's just all it is. And Kirby's going to come in here. He's going to say the same thing he said the past 5 times he's gotten the mic. He's going to bring back ultra. He's going to start off too. When he gets back, he's going to go, Mac, you're so dumb, and you're a nihilistic piece. And he's going to go on this. He's going to sell that and then say the same thing. I have brought up other games. I have brought up histories of other games. I have brought up evidence. I have brought up the internet's view, which Kirby will say doesn't matter to this conversation to help him, to aid him in winning. But it still is a matter of looking into. And he's only brought up that, to his knowledge, there's no other game like Death Stranding because he's never played games before. Which is why this conversation is irrelevant. It does not make any sense because Kirby, sorry, it's video games and it's kind of silly, but you're uneducated in the source material. You're uneducated in video game history. You're uneducated in what influenced who and where and to what makes them pieces of art. Death Stranding, I'm sure it is a piece of art, but it's not one that I would say is original to me. And it's not one that I would give to that respect and be like, oh my god, he really did something crazy. He just made a fun party game and added some mechanics and then made it a whole thing. It's cool, it's fun, it's its own.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on
mute.
All right, Kirby, you're unmuted. Your turn.
Okay, I'm gonna keep this really simple. I think the reason why Shadow of Colossus does not apply here is because Shadow of Colossus is not about the simple act of carrying things over mountains. You know, I mean, that's what we've been talking about. Is like when I say realistic, I don't mean the level of detail in the controls. I understand that Shadow of Colossus has, in a similar way, very detailed controls for movement, and you can slip up in very similar ways to Death Stranding. I get that, but realism to me means reflecting the reality of backpacking. What is the actual thing I've done in reality? That's really it.
Yeah, okay, that's it, Kirby.
Yeah, I mean, like because backpacking is something you do in reality, and we derive a concept of backpacking from that. And I think the concept of Death Stranding being a realistic walking simulator, when I say that, I don't just mean that he's added a complexity of controls. I mean that he has actually taken the real world experience of transversing things with heavy objects on your back, and he's made a game based on that concept. And I don't think anyone has made a game solely based on that concept.
All right, Mac, you're unmuted. Mac, you're unmuted.
Okay, so now you're talking about the story and how the story, because
Talk
Shadow of
about
the
the story.
Colossus, well, Shadow of the Colossus is the same thing. You're just not delivering packages. If you want to
Yeah,
change the
but
setting and
that's
say that
essential
changes the
to it.
entire concept of the game, like they're not similar anymore, then that's just wrong.
That's
That's just a
essential to it.
different motive. Well, then that's wrong. I'm saying that the basis gameplay is derived from other games. I don't care about the purpose or what it is and how it makes you feel and whatnot. The gameplay is similar.
It's not about what
It is.
makes
It
you
is.
feel. It's about the concept that he's modeling it on. And I think he's modeling it on the
Which has
concept of
been done.
actually moving things. But where? The Shadow of
Okay,
Colossus does not apply because it's not about moving
take
objects
the packages
exclusively.
off of Shadow of the Colossus and getting up
But you
stuff.
can't just
The
do
same
that.
thing
That's a
applies because
hypothetical.
the same
It doesn't
janky.
matter.
But the
You can't just
gameplay
remove
still
things.
plays the same.
The whole point is that he did
I'm
remove
saying it's a
everything else. The
visual
whole point is that he
aesthetic.
did
I'm
remove
saying it's
everything
a
else.
visual aesthetic. The controls of Shadow of the Colossus are much like Death Stranding. Just take away the
I get
visual
that.
aid
I
of a
get that.
backpack, and then it's the same gameplay. So if you get that, then you understand what I'm saying.
But I'm
Is that the
saying
gameplay is
there's
the
something
same.
to the fact that he stripped everything else away and made it just about moving your heavy backpack across the map.
Yeah, but you could
That is
say
what
there's
makes
something
unique.
about
That's
Shadow of the
distinct.
Colossus where he stripped everything away and made it about roaming an empty world. It's an
Okay.
open world that's completely empty. There's no enemies. You only fight the 16 colossi and you climb. And the only time you kill something is when you climb to the top and hit him in the head. And that's the entire
Okay,
game.
but Death Stranding
But
doesn't
that
have colossi.
is that not
Death
as
Stranding doesn't have colossi,
should
and there's
not
something
that
to be
be
said
as
for the fact
like that's
that
a
they've
story
only
element.
focused
That
on the
is a
walking.
story element that's
No,
irrelevant to
it's
the
gameplay.
gameplay.
You're gonna say boss fights aren't gameplay? You're gonna say boss fights.
Strip the all that stuff. The climbing is which you have to climb in Death Stranding. It's a traversal thing, which it's realistic. It's probably the most frustrating part of Shadow of the Colossus because of how realistic it is, and that's like the main complaint of it is that climbing and all that stuff is difficult, and you have to like raise your arm and all that stuff. And it's the same conceptual gameplay idea as Death Stranding, which I get that Death Stranding is walking in its own right, but for me, I have played that kind of gameplay before, and to where it makes it not original. Which Death Stranding, like Shadow of the Colossus, is a Death Stranding type because there's nothing going on besides you and you walking around. That's why Death Stranding's called that because you're just stranded. It's just death, and there's nothing happening. It's just you and the solemnness, male loneliness arc, and so is Shadow of the Colossus. The only difference is the story beats and what you're doing them for and the purpose. I get that it's ultra realistic, but all the story beats shouldn't matter. Strip all that away. The graphics, strip down your character model.
Kirby, you
The
just muted
gameplay
yourself.
is similar, the same.
Kirby, you muted yourself. You muted.
Okay, Mac is speaking of a hypothetical in which he stripped all these things away from Shadow of the Colossus, right, Mac?
No, I'm saying strip down like just to the fundamentals of the game. They're the similar games.
Okay, but I'm saying
They both
that
share from
involves
each other actually.
what that involves is you're taking Shadow of the Colossus, a real game, and you're stripping away all of the parts which aren't walking, and then what you're left with is a game very similar to Death Stranding. Is that what you'd say?
What? No, I'm saying you strip like okay, take the world of Death Stranding, turn it into a .exe file to where it's just code and you don't see anything. Take the world from Valorant Stranding, turning into code where you don't see the mountains and the hills and all that stuff. Take your character model, turn him into a T-posing guy. The gameplay elements, people would think that they're playing the same game or an element of each game. It's just that climbing's like this. They're similar in that regard. If you want to add on to all the beauty and stuff, I'm sure that can make you feel like it's a whole new thing. Take it away, they could be in the same universe. They could be same controls from the same game. And that is fundamentally
Okay,
why
but
the
there's one
gameplay
difference.
is similar.
There's one difference, which is that in the case of Shadow of the Colossus, it is in your head that you have taken all these things away. But in Death Stranding, they actually took everything away and left a fucking
Kirby,
walking simulator.
they didn't. You don't. There's no inventory, and there's less of a game in Shadow of the Colossus than they stripped more away in Shadow of the
But
Colossus. You don't
inventory
pick up
adds to what I'm
items.
saying. I'm saying it's
There's
a
no
backpacking simulator.
cutscenes. There's
The fact that
there's
they don't have an
no.
inventory argues for me.
What are you talking about? It's
Because we're
the
talking
way
about backpacking,
Shadow of
walking,
Colossus
turning
is
things over hills.
revolutionary to the Death Stranding. Now that if we're talking about it,
Okay, you could say that's not what we're
that
arguing
came
about.
out 23 years ago.
Okay, what's your point? That it's a really great game? I'm
No,
not
that it's
contesting
similar
that.
to Death Stranding. That it's the gameplay concept from Death Stranding and Shadow
Of
of the
course they're
Colossus are the
similar.
same. Okay, then Death Stranding's not original in
So
that
Death Stranding can't be
aspect.
similar to anything, or it can't be original.
Well, what's like again? That's your definition.
Nothing
That's
ever
why our
has been
definition of
original since the beginning of time, Mac.
that's why our definition of different is original.
So in
That's
your
what I said half
definition,
an hour
nothing has
ago.
ever been original.
I'm talking about video games. You're trying to
Mac,
bring in
what does
like
constitute something
what makes a
original to you?
game? Like you were like what makes a game? You need
I'm trying to
obstacles and a
interrogate the
purpose. You
underlying
can say this. You
concepts
just
for
changed.
causing you to
Okay,
have this
change the word
strange
game
view.
to life. Like fucking bullshit thing you're gonna go off on and try and sound smart. It doesn't matter. You don't know a game. Like this is about video game. I'm sure. Like that's why I'm saying you're a smart guy, but you're in a field you're not educated in, and you're trying to act like you know shit you're talking about, and you're
I'm
coming
not
off as
pretending to know a
dumb
lot
for the
about
very
anything.
first time to me. Well, then then you don't understand my concept of what I'm saying because you don't have that backing. You don't have that background to how I can. But I know because I know how you can get lost in stuff. It's very original to you, but to me, it's just not original, and it's not, and it can't be because it's not. Like original in life is different than in video games. There's a lot of original stuff in life, but yes, everything is derived from something. But Death Stranding is walking derived from other walking games that are difficult to
No,
make
it
you
is
walk.
walking derived from walking with a backpack on,
Yes, but
transporting things in real life.
there's other games that can make you, they have that can make you feel like
But
that.
they
I think
haven't raised that to the element of the entire game.
but the concept is still there. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, but it matters that it's the entirety. I mean, concepts flow and intermix with each other. Like a game, contains many concepts within itself. Like for instance, Death Stranding has
Like,
combat.
there's
Death
a
Stranding has
game.
boss fights, but we
Like, there's
don't
a game.
essentialize those. We essentialize the walking.
Fuck. Hold on. There's a game. There's a game I played like 20. I don't. It was like a $15 game like on a PlayStation, but the game is that it's almost like Destro. You're a mailman, but this time like literally like you carry packages, and that's the entire game. Is you go from around the city and drop off packages, and you just hold stuff. And there's another game like Stack It is another one where you have to balance and get your way over things while stacking stuff, and so they don't fall over. You got like I'm not gonna bring up the other. I'm not gonna bring up the other ones.
But
Those are
it's
two
a
new ones.
backpacking game.
Yes, but it's the same gameplay concept of balancing. The only difference is the visual aid of a backpack being there. But the gameplay, you on the controller, what you're doing on the controller, is more than like the same of you
environment
balancing
also
something.
informs the gameplay.
Take the environment away. Okay,
But
just
no,
take it
I
to the
refuse to
no.
allow you to
Take
do
it.
that.
Take
The gameplay
then,
matters for the. I mean, the environment
no,
matters for
no,
the
it
gameplay.
does. Take the mountains
Yes, it
away.
does.
The way you walk and get around things is similar to those games. But to
Okay.
you, I get. Like, then how do you think game design works? Because like what you just said, like that's not like it
Okay,
doesn't
then we're
make
back to the
sense.
Mario thing, where it's just movement through it a stage. If it's that abstract,
Yes, like Metroid is Mario.
then
Castlevania
everything's
is Mario. No, because not every game is Mario. Then you're like you start to bring other games and say, "Oh, that's just like Mario,"
saying,
but you
but
don't
you see,
understand game design
like I'm
and
saying,
how
you can't
fuck would
strip
like you
back that
similarized
much.
games to Mario back at like an hour ago that were nothing like Mario, but to your game brain, like it is. But it's not though. And it's because this is an art form. Like this takes years to do these things, and as the gameplay development form, it is not anywhere similar to Mario as to where the structures are, what happens, and how fast pressing triangle does something to like doing all the way from like just analog sticking to going left and right and how fast it computes and what goes back and forth from there. There's little tiny differences that can make things ultimately different. And Death Stranding just carries a lot of those gameplay mechanics from very popular games that made difficulty walking, and he made it a AAA game, which Shadow of the Colossus did 23 years ago. And it's not original. in my mind. I get again how it's original in your mind, but you have got to understand how in my mind that can't be an original concept or an original game because it has pre-existing predecessors that are that are built on the same exact mechanics and the exact same things, which makes it one of those games to me. That's why. But like again, like I can't say Elden Ring is a like I wouldn't sit here and argue that Elden Ring is original because it's not. Elden Ring is that's from like
It's a combination.
books and stuff from it's like really like from like 400 years ago, like stories and like ideas and concepts throughout time. You know, it's like the most unoriginal game ever, but it's just a bunch of mashups. But like, and not even to bring Elden Ring, like this that was just irrelevant. But like, you can't say the same about Death Stranding in my personal opinion, to where it can be its own thing because again, like the walking part where walking is the whole game and you've extra realized walking and backpacking and whatnot, the basis of it is still walking hard, and that's still it in simple form. Walking is hard. The game.
Could you not say that about Mario? It's hard
Because
to
Mario,
walk
you
from
don't
one end
walk.
of the stage to the other.
Mario, you
He
jump.
does
You have
walk.
enemies.
Okay.
You get
can jump
power
in Death
ups.
Stranding. You can jump in real life.
Yeah, but Mario's fast paced in 2D.
You do like run, walk, and jump in Mario, just to make sure about that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And just like in Death
Mario's
Stranding.
fast paced. Mario's like for speed running. Mario is for map knowledge. Mario is for everything but Death Stranding, because Death Stranding is an open world 3D game. And the sound design is different. The emotion conveyed is different. It has different purposes. It
Yeah,
has
I
a
know a lot
different.
of things are different. The reason they're different
Well,
is
then
that
how is that
Death
similar?
Stranding is trying to simulate the experience of actually a backpacking carrying things across mountains in real life, which I just don't think is something any other game has even tried to do.
But they have. They just didn't say that. Like you could say that about the walking game and just call it.
But
And
what
just
about what
put a
game?
backpack on it, put him a backpack on him, and make it. You go left and right, and you could just call
No,
that a
it's not
walking
just
game.
a matter of do you have a
What I'm trying
backpack
to
on
say
him.
is that like I understand what Mac's saying is like yes, these concepts that's in Death Stranding have been in the game before, but what Kirby's trying to say is that they haven't done it to a level that's the same as Death Stranding.
But they've
Well,
still
it's not
done
just
it.
that. It's just that the model that they're taking it from is actually backpacking
But the
in real life.
model, but like they've done it though. Like the
Where?
presentation's not the same, the name's not the same, the gameplay mechanics are. Even though it has a whole
Well-
different, like you put a tin can in a room, and you put a tin can in a white room, it looks like a piece of art. You put a tin can next to garbage, it looks like garbage. You put Death Stranding with all this superficial shit, and it looks beautiful and it looks original. It looks shiny and brand new. You put it next to the other ones, it starts looking a little similar, and it starts looking a little not shiny and brand new.
What
So that
other
you're just
game
caught
has
up in that
modeled
white ass
itself
room.
entirely on the actual experience of carrying things?
We're
on their
back to
back?
this. We're back to this.
Because you don't have an answer.
I've answered it like 4 or 5 times
And
now.
I
Kobe, am I wrong?
dismantle it
Kobe, am I
each
wrong?
time.
Kobe, am I
And I
wrong?
dismantle it each time.
You don't dismantle. You say no. Kobe, am I wrong?
No, I haven't.
So hold on.
No.
I'm just gonna mute you guys both here so I can answer this question that Mac just said.